also, I mean, I know there are places here in town that are doing classes without masks, you know, groups of people, but I'm not going there yet. So, you know, we're all kind of used to wearing these in here. And maybe once I do say, okay, we can start, we'll stay with smaller classes, but take off the mask, there might be a lot more people who want to come. I don't know. But at this point in time, I'm just not comfortable not, you know. So we'll stick with this for a bit and see.
Have you had many people texting you or like saying about wanting to come but they're afraid to come? Or have you had very many?
There have been maybe a handful of people who were waiting to get their second shot, waiting the 3 weeks to make sure immunity had set in. There is one person who's coming back Thursday who hadn't been in a long time. I have another couple or three who might, and they said they were really interested. I haven't heard from them again. So, you know, I'm going to send out an email pretty soon and kind of get a gist of what people, whether I'm going to need to add more classes but as long as everybody's comfortable with this many people in here, I mean, we're not close together. I know. I'm thinking, you know, I mean, this thing could move over, I could move over, and there could be, so that, we had said before, we could probably get 10 in here. So we'll play it by ear. But let's start. I'm sitting in a chair today, but you can sit on the floor, you know that. You can sit however is comfortable. Same for you all at home. Allow yourself to get comfortable and easy. I'm going to talk a little bit louder now so that hopefully everything's coming through okay on the video. But close your eyes and let yourself just easily start to enjoy feeling your breath coming in and going out through your nose. So not forcing the breath, just receiving your breaths into your belly. Letting your shoulders feel nice and released. And just be aware of really allowing yourself to feel your spine lengthened up as you lift up and into the crown of the head. So you get this idea of, wow, it's easier to breathe. There's more space in your spine. And if it's comfortable to come into those 3-part breaths, inhaling into the belly, into your ribs, all the way up into your chest. And on your next exhale, bring your chin down towards your chest, release your head forward, and let yourself just enjoy here. Maybe even let the head turn a little bit if that feels good in your neck, right? If it feels good to move your chin towards one side and then the other once your head's forward too. And then come on back into center. We'll rise the head on, back up and forward. And now release your arms out beside you and tilt your left ear towards your left shoulder and let your right arm float up a little bit higher and flex your hand just to come into a little more through the side of the neck that way. So you can adjust how high your arm is and feel a different feeling in the side of your neck, right? If you come higher, if you go lower, just kind of play a little bit, let yourself find the best release. And then we'll come on back up to the top of the head, arm down. We're going to go the other way, right ear towards the right shoulder. Again, let the left arm float up, kind of feel it as high as you want to go at first and flex your hand. And then again, if you kind of start to adjust and you want to lower or raise the arm higher, by all means do. Just take your time. Let it feel like, you're finding all these little places in your neck. And then we'll rise back up with the head, let the arm come on down beside you. Let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse and inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. Good. And then just shake your hands out a little bit, circle your wrist a little, open and close your hands. Feel your hands waking up a little bit more here. Good. And then stretch your legs on out. Remember which leg you had in front if you're cross-legged. Stretch your legs on out and do the same thing with your feet. So circle the feet. Maybe flex and point a little bit. Just move through your ankles and your feet. Good. And then we'll come on down and let the arms come out beside us and let yourself get comfortable. If you recross your legs, have your different leg in front. And we'll inhale here. And on the exhale, let's twist to our left. Bring yourself around. Feel that ease of finding that twist in the middle of your back. Now, feel your feet. Whatever part of your feet are touching the floor, press down into them. Feel the belly, low belly engaging, and feel your right sitting bone drawing down towards the ground or the chair. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come on back around through center all the way into the other direction. And again, let yourself just feel that nice, easy twist. Feel your feet pressing down and the left sitting bone drawing downward. So your hips are staying square. Good. One more inhale. And on the exhale, use your belly to draw you on back around into center. And let's bring our arms back behind us. Fingertips on the floor if you're comfortable to stay there. You can go ahead and go flat to your hands. If you're in your chair, it's the best thing. Just let the chair support you. You bring yourself over to kind of lay over the back of the chair. Now be mindful of your neck. Sometimes looking forward feels better. Sometimes looking up feels good. Just try not to feel like you're causing tension, really, in your neck, your throat. And then we'll release, and we're going to come into a little forward bend. Those of you on the floor, if you'd rather stretch your legs out, do it. If you'd rather come forward with a nice long back, putting your hands towards the floor, do it. If you want to go farther, do. And in your chair, you can separate your feet and rest your elbows above your knees, or keep on going with your hands coming down. So be really easy. Enjoy feeling the weight of your head if you can. Now, if you know letting your head hang puts too much pressure into your low back, then keep the back of your head in line with your spine. And just breathe. Nice full breaths. Feel the sense of releasing as the back comes into that forward motion. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to slowly make our way on back up and let yourself stretch your legs out again in front of you. Whether you're in the chair or on the floor, flex through both your feet there. And then point one foot and flex the other one. It doesn't matter which one you do. And then we're just going to switch. So we're just going to pedal our feet a little bit now. So now you're going to feel the backs of your legs. You're also going to feel your thighs tighten up, right? So just easily pedaling through the feet, but it also works your legs, right? And then come on back into releasing here, and we're going to head on around to our hands and knees. If you don't want to be on your knees, don't do it. So most people in here are on a chair. At home, I don't really know who's sitting in a chair or not, but I'm telling you, and those of you here who are usually on the floor, if you're ever at home and you have a chair, like with a hard seat like this, similar to this, coming into these forward bends in a chair, very different from being on the floor. If you did this every day, even if you need to stay up high, or bring your hands down towards your feet or the floor, it is an amazing release for your back. And especially if you're having like any kind of little back issues, it's a really good release. You don't go any farther than you need to, but so okay, enough about that. On hands and knees, hands under shoulders, whether they're fists or maybe you have your hands on a blanket or knees on a blanket. And then start to just ease your way through your cat-cows. So feeling the tailbone. initiate here and letting yourself just enjoy flowing through your spine. And remember, if your wrists bother you, really take your time to find something that helps you. You can come on to forearms and do cat-cow. You know, it changes the feeling a little bit too. Sometimes it's fun to do it even if you don't have wrist issues, right? I just play a little bit, finding that really flowing through the spine feeling. So it feels good. You can find that the muscles alongside of the spine are getting warmer. Finish off the one that you're on. And then come back to a more neutral spine. And from here, turn to look to the right with your gaze. Just turn your head. And then let your right arm float up and see if you can just reach your hand straight out from your shoulder. So it's out to the side. It's not up overhead. And then you can decide if you want the arm to go up higher and higher and higher and higher, reaching up towards the ceiling. And that's a shoulder thing, right? So be easy. And then we'll bring that right hand back down. And we're going to look to the left. And then again, just float the hand up if you can. It can stay low. It can go out from your shoulder. Again, depending on whether your shoulder allows you to bring the hand up higher, looking up if you want. Oh, and then come on back down with the hand. And we'll step our left foot forward from here and our right foot back and find our first lunge. So if you're using your blocks, you know they can be any height. Have them on the mat so that they're actually right there underneath your hands or under your shoulders. Doesn't matter what height you are. Draw your shoulders down. Let yourself wake up a little bit here. Now, you have a little bit of weight in your hands. See if you can float your left heel up just a little bit off the floor. Feel your quad engaging a little deeper. Take a breath there. And then lower your left heel back down. And we're going to switch legs. So however you need to bring that right foot forward and the left foot back. Remember, you're on very narrow railroad tracks feeling, right? Getting into the length that you like in your stance. And then again, as you get comfortable, if you can float your right heel just a little bit up off the floor and feel your quad engage. Try not to tense up in your shoulders. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears. And then bring the heel on back down again. And let's step forward and come into a little standing forward bend here. Get your feet hips distance apart and parallel. And ease your way into what you need. Use whatever support. You know that. Elbows above your knees. Good way to support that low back. You can let your hands be on a chair or forearms on a chair or blocks. And just take your time. If you can, let your head turn a little bit side to side, do. And then just let the head release. Let yourself come into your breaths. Easy, full, deep breaths. Good. One more breath. And then from here, we'll bring our hands on up to our hips, bend our knees, and rise on up to standing. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. So kind of walk in place a little bit. In fact, maybe not all the way in place. Kind of walk a little bit forward, and then walk a little bit backward. And then let yourself walk a little to one side, right? And then just walk a little bit to the other side. So you've got your legs moving a little bit. And then once you get back to where you want to be in your mountain pose, keep walking for just a little bit. And then start to slow it down and get yourself now as you feel your feet equal in the floor. Feel that sense of now starting with your feet, growing up into your mountain pose. Bringing your hands to your heart. Feeling your thighs just gently lifting up towards your hips. Feel that sense of space around your knees. And then let the hips just come over your ankles, shoulders over your hips. Now the head placement is not always easy, right? So for a second, jut your chin forward, right? So feel what that does in your upper back. I just made mine pop actually, but And then bring your chin back, and now tuck your chin back. So obviously that doesn't feel so good either. And then see if you can just very easily feel that sense of the head being up there at a place where there's not tension in your neck, your upper back. It really is like your head is floating up on top of your spine. Feel your shoulders nice and wide and open. Just enjoy feeling your body in space. And then we'll release our arms on down beside us here and inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And as you exhale, lower your left arm down beside you here. Come on over into a side stretch. Let yourself feel your feet in the floor. And then just breathe into that right side. Feel the weight of your left arm too if you can. That arm that's hanging. And then we'll inhale the left arm up. Both arms up overhead. Turn your pinkies towards each other. Let yourself feel you're not lifting your shoulders up but melting them down. And then lower your right arm down, and we're going to come over into side stretch on the other side. So again, feel the right arm hanging. And then breathe into that left side that you're stretching. Let it feel nice and open through the side ribs. And then we'll come on back up, both arms overhead. Let's clasp our hands up there. Send your palms out away. Now, if you have to, bring your hands forward too, right? If your shoulders don't let you be arms directly up overhead here, don't do it. So take your time. Let yourself be mindful there. Feel that sense again of not letting your shoulders draw way up by your ears. One more inhale. And on the exhale, release your hands. We're going to fold forward and come into our standing forward bend. And let your next inhale help you find a nice long flat back here. Lengthen out your spine. So remember, your hands can be on your shins or on your blocks or on your chair seat. And we'll step the right foot back and come into lunge. Draw your shoulders down. Let yourself find that length through the back body. Good. Inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So first down dog, right? And now, whether you're a fan of downward facing dog pose or not, I know it's kind of hard to change that feeling you have about a down dog, especially if you don't like it. But over time, you might start to feel a little bit differently about your down dog. If you can really enjoy feeling, and where you have your hands makes a huge difference, how high your hands are. Hug your elbows towards each other. Feel that length of the spine. Practice doing it more on the kitchen counter in your house. Again, that might help you appreciate it a little bit more. Next inhale, we'll come on out to plank. So ease your way out and be mindful as you come out here, whether you feel like you want to stay in your plank or do little push-ups. That's up to you. You can bend your elbows if you'd like to get a little more into finding strength in the arms. You come up into your shoulders more, or you can stay in your plank, finding that core. And then we'll come on back into down dog. Walk your dog a little bit, just real easily. Let it feel good to release one heel at a time towards the ground. Good, and then come back to your full dog. Feel your hands in the surface they're on. Hug your elbows towards each other. Think about yourself reaching back as far as you can through your tailbone. And then we'll bring the right foot forward to come into lunge. So coming into your lunge here now, press the feet away from each other if you can. Like you're trying to lengthen your mat with your feet. And feel your belly engaging, your low back, your hips. And from here we'll step forward and come into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. And then be mindful. Again, use what you want. I mean, sometimes if you have a chair there, sometimes it feels good to rest your head on a chair. I used to use my coffee table at home, put my head on my coffee table, let myself be more lengthened through my spine, and be able to be comfortable for my back. So, you know, everybody's different. If releasing to let yourself hang fully, crown of the head towards the floor feels good, then do it. Nice, easy breaths. Feeling the ribs expand on the inhales. bring our hands back to our hips. We're gonna bend our knees, press into our feet equally, and rise on up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, as your hands come down, think of reaching up higher through the crown of your head. Now balance yourself out between the fronts and the backs of your feet. Sometimes you feel like you've shifted forward, or you're shifting to put the weight more into your heels. Try to get even there. And then we'll unfold our arms again on down beside us. And inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, bend our knees, coming on forward into standing forward bend. And let your next inhale again help you flatten that back out. Nice tabletop back. And this time we'll step the left foot back and come into lunge. So pressing those feet away from each other. Again, like you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet. Engage your belly. Inhale. Exhale into down dog. So again, it does not matter what height you are. You know, your heels might be on the floor if your hands are on the chair or on the blocks, or your heels might be hovering. So just be mindful. Let it feel really good in your shoulders and your back and in the backs of your legs. And on the next inhale, we'll come on out again to that plank. And again, you can do push-up if you want. You can bend your elbows, let yourself come into using your arms a little bit more. You can stay in your plank and reach your sitting bones down towards your heels and zip up your belly. Good. And then we're going to make our way back into down dog. Ease your way back. Elbows again, hugging in. Get comfort in your shoulders. And this time we will bring the left foot forward. And you know, whatever you need to do to bring that foot forward. So your right knee can go down. You can put both knees down and then step the left foot through. And then we'll come on back to standing forward bend again. Nice breaths. Feel your head really heavy if you can. And just think about letting go through your face, your jaw. You know, if it helps, kind of move your mouth around a little bit. And just enjoy coming into those even, full breaths. See if you can count when you inhale. Reach close to that same count when you exhale. Maybe even adding 2 or 3 or 4 counts to your exhale. One more breath here. And then we'll bend our knees, bring our hands to our hips, rise straight on up. Let's inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Lift your elbows up a little bit here so you feel your hands coming a little stronger together, right? So you're pressing gently. You're really feeling your wrists a little bit more there. Good. And then release your fingertips like you have your hands on the top of a flat surface in front of you, right? And let just your middle fingers touch. So you've kind of separated all the other tips of the fingers. Just your middle fingers are touching there. And then see if you can rise your one elbow up, it doesn't matter which one, and then switch and go to the other side. But it's like you're still keeping that long line from elbow to elbow. So as you inhale and exhale, you're just going to switch. Now you're trying to keep your body still, right? So it's just the arms, the shoulders moving. So the tendency is to want to do this, right? Try not to do that. Try to let yourself just use the arms and the shoulders. It's isolating there. Good. And then finish off. Have your hands right on back in front of your chest. And then we're going to unfold our arms on down beside us. Turn the palms up. Let yourself feel that openness across your chest. And as you inhale, rise the arms on up overhead. And on the exhale, we'll bend our knees, coming on forward into standing forward bend again. Let your next inhale help you find that flat back. Remember, wherever you like your hands to be. And we're going to step our feet back into a down dog from here. So be mindful as you walk back into your down dog. Come into however you like your, whatever height you like your hands. Sometimes too, how far apart your hands are in your dog makes a huge difference. So a little bit wider maybe between the hands. So you're more to the outside edges of your shoulders a little bit. And then on the next inhale, we'll come on out to that plank again. Now you can add a back bend or not. That is totally up to you. You can come down, come up into a sphinx on your forearms, or a cobra, a little one, or you can come through to up dog. And then we'll make our way back again into downward facing dog pose. So again, wag your tail if you want to. Kind of be loose about it. Let your dog move around a little bit. I mean, you can tell if something doesn't feel good, you don't want to do it, don't. But if moving a little bit, shifting around a little bit, or walking, or wagging, and then come on back into your full dog, and we'll come out again towards that plank. Again, it is optional to add a back bend here, and whatever kind you want. So if you decide to do a back bend, you go for it. You can otherwise stay in your plank, and then we'll come on back again into downward facing dog pose. From here, let's bring our right foot forward to find lunge. Does not matter what you need to do to get that. Right foot forward, press the feet away from each other, engage your belly. And then we'll come on back into our standing forward bend again. Feet right underneath us. Hips distance apart and parallel as you can be. Once you get there, see if you can lift your toes up a little bit. If you have the capability, your back feels fine in a forward bend, to reach your fingers down and kind of massage your toes a little bit, do. You know, obviously don't do that. If it's too much, it hurts your back. But if you can kind of take your toes and massage each toe a little bit there just to wake them up. Give your toes a little love here. And then when you're ready, let the toes release on back down. Come into a couple of nice full breaths. Good. And then we'll let our hands come back up to our hips, bend our knees. We're going to rise on up to standing and inhale our arms out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And now unfold your arms. Let yourself inhale just your right arm up overhead. And from there, bend your elbow. Now, you might want to stay right there. Elbow can be forward or out. You might want your left arm to come over the top and get a hold of your elbow. That's not for everybody. You can sometimes put your hand in front of your upper arm and kind of encourage up a little bit, back a little bit with that upper arm. But, you know, we are all different in our shoulders. You be where you can. Let it feel good. One more breath. And now if your left arm is up, let that left arm come down and fold it behind you. Let your palm face outward as you rest your hand there on your low back. I mean, you can fold your whole lower arm there, or you can reach your hands towards each other on your back if you choose to. So if you really like that, trying to get your hands together, remember another one that you can practice at home, like if you're holding a belt or a strap or a towel. And then we're going to let everything come on down. We're going to inhale the left arm all the way out and up. And then we'll bend that elbow. And again, you know, you might be here. You might be here. You be where you can. Right arm up and over the top to hold on to the elbow is totally so optional. And again, sometimes just doing this, just letting yourself bring your hand just a little to support that arm there. Sometimes that feels good. So just be mindful. And be where you are with your shoulders, right? There's no right or wrong. And then we'll release that right arm down and put the arm on behind you. Again, you can just turn your palm out and let it be low. You can fold the whole lower arm if you want. You can decide to bring your hands closer together. That's up to you. Try to keep your gaze forward. Good. Make sure you're not locking your knees. And then we'll release. Let our arms come on down. Woo, let's make a big circle. Inhale your arms forward, up overhead. Let the arms come on back behind you. And then when you're ready, we'll reverse. Reaching back and letting yourself come all the way up and then coming on forward. Yes, and then just swing your arms a little bit. It's really great shoulder work right there. If we all did it every day, it really would make a big difference. So we're going to come into some warriors. So if you're using your chair, turn it around. Have your blocks handy. And we're going to come into warrior 2 first with our right foot stepping back. So look for a second. Look at how long of a stance. I mean, you probably are really used to the people here in the studio have been coming for a long time to yoga. So you probably have this certain distance you have between your feet where you're comfortable, right? Which is good. Being comfortable is good. But also sometimes challenging yourself is good. So, and believe it or not, that for most people means they want to get their stance, their feet farther apart to challenge themselves. I have to be honest with you. Sometimes shortening your stance brings more into the core of the body and is harder work than letting your stance, what you see in not traditional, but a lot of yoga is, doing this where your thigh is parallel to the floor and you're really, really long and low and down to the ground, right? Well, it's great. And mind you, I'm just saying that if you change the distance, you'll feel a little bit different in the pose. And when you bend that left knee and you make sure you're lined up, then if you decide you want the distance to get less or more, you might go ahead and just change a half an inch or an inch. And now from here, let's bring our hands to our heart. Let yourself feel that midline of the body, right? So you feel real equal between your hands, up through your arms to your shoulders. Same equality in the hips down to the feet. Beautiful. We're going to inhale the hands up through the midline. Open the arms like wings, but keep the palms facing upward as you turn to look over your left palm. Elbows are soft. Let yourself enjoy that softness through the tops of the shoulders. And then turn your palms down, but let yourself just real easily keep that softness in your shoulders, reaching out through the fingertips. Good. From here, bring your right hand on down to your right leg. Turn your left palm up and inhale. Reach up towards the sky. Full deep breath into the left ribs. And on the exhale, we'll come into side angle. So it can be your hand. It can be your forearm on your thigh or on your chair. Right arm is optional to bring up into line, as you know. Now, if you have your arm up there, see what happens if you bend your right elbow and put your hand behind your head. And feel the back of your head just gently coming into your hand for a second. It hurts your shoulder, don't do it. And then stretch that arm long again, whether it comes at that angle or maybe it's coming directly up overhead from your shoulder. We're going to come on back to warrior 2 from there, pressing the feet away from each other. Good. Let your right hand come down to your right hip now, and then we'll straighten the left knee out. We're going to bring the left hand right on down for triangle. So now both legs are straight. Thighs are lifting up towards the hips. You can use any height you want for your hands. That left hand can be on your thigh, it can be below your knee, it can be on a block, it can be on a chair. Now, for a second, see what happens. Keep your hand down, but see what happens if you try to look up to the ceiling a little bit. Be easy, and then bring your gaze back forward. And now see if you can look down towards the floor. Feel your thighs lifting up. It's hard work. And then bring your gaze back forward and see if you want to rise that right arm straight on up from your shoulder. In your triangle. Thighs lifting up towards the hips. And then we're going to bend that left knee and come on back into warrior 2, pressing the feet away from each other as we come. Now we're going to let our hands come down and we're going to turn our feet more parallel. So adjust the width of your stance for your wide-legged forward bend once you get there. And then come on forward. Grab blocks if you like them. And take your time. Once you get there, bend one knee and stay there for a breath. So that when you switch, you have time to stay with one knee bent. Now remember, if this bothers your knees, don't do it. But just instead of going too quickly, bend a knee and stay for a breath or two before you go to the other side. Just a couple more, giving the hips time to release there. Good. And then finish on back at center here and let your hands come out in front of you, whether they're on the blocks or the floor, so you have a nice flat back. And then bring your right hand on up to your right hip and roll that right shoulder up a little bit. Think about finding the twist in the middle of your back. So you're level at your hips. Good. And then bring that right hand back down. And we're going to bring our left hand up. And we're going to roll that shoulder up. Good. Nice. Now, if you want a little more, you press the feet away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet. And you lengthen out through the top of your head. And then we'll bring the hand on back down. And now adjust yourself to be where you can stay with your breath comfortably now. Grabbing whatever support you need so that you can just start to watch your breath and you're not distracted by your body. You don't want to feel discomfort. You want to be able to just totally, right away, just go into watching your breath in and out. So keeping your focus on your breath all the way through. So not judging anything about it, just letting yourself feel and accept your breaths in and out. Good. So one more nice full deep breath. And before you rise up, you make any adjustment you need, and how you come up is obviously really up to you. Take your time, bring your feet together. If you need to move through your feet a little bit, do. So if your feet feel a little crampy, turn to the toes, top of the toes a little bit. And we're going to do the other side. So this time left foot steps back and we'll come into that warrior two. So again, be aware of how far apart you have your feet. You've got this place you usually go. Maybe change it, whether it gets a little shorter or a little longer. So now you're on a different side. So allow yourself to, again, feel really easy as you bring your hands to your heart. And feel the hands right there gently together. Let yourself feel very balanced between your shoulders. So you feel, not like there's tension in one. They both feel really easy. And then inhale your hands right up through the midline. Once you open them, keep the palms up as you open and turn to look over your right palm. Elbows are soft. Feels really good. Let your shoulders, so you feel like the tops of your shoulders are just released now. So keeping that feeling when you turn the palms down and you reach out through the fingertips. So you're still holding your arms up from underneath. The muscles that come wrapping around forward underneath your arms. That's where you want to focus on, having your arms held up from. We'll put our left hand down our left leg, turn our right palm up and inhale and reach up. Breathing now, really feeling that expansion of the ribs on the right side when you breathe in. And on the exhale, let's come into our side angle. So again, your right hand or forearm can go down, or you can use a chair, or you can use the block there. Keep your hand down for a second and let yourself, again, see if you can look up a little bit. This is kind of hard, so be mindful, especially if you feel like you're losing your balance. And then bring your gaze forward again, and then see if you can look down at your right foot. And again, if you feel like you're losing balance, don't, be mindful. Put your hand where you need it. And then come on back to look forward. Now adding this left arm up into line is totally up to you. If you do get the arm up there, and you can bend your left elbow and put your hand behind your head for a second, do. You might even think of reaching your elbow up towards the ceiling a little bit. And then extend into that long arm again. And we're going to come on back to warrior two. Press those feet away from each other. Now we're going to straighten the right knee out, put the left hand down on our hip, and we're going to bring the right hand down for a triangle. So how low you go. You can keep your hand up on your thigh, below your knee. Feel the thighs lifting up towards the hips. So really feel the sense of you're really working your legs here, right? And then if you want to add that arm straight on up from your shoulder, do. If that doesn't feel good, don't do it. Good. One more breath. And now we're gonna bend the right knee. We're gonna come on back into warrior two. Take your time as you get there. And now let your hands come on down. We're gonna turn our feet again, more parallel, and we're gonna come on forward. So use your elbows above your knees if you need to, hands on the blocks if you need to. Move around however you want, right? If you need to wiggle around, by all means do. Adjust your stance. Now, think about your feet. In fact, you might kind of turn to look at one foot at a time. Make sure you're not rolling to the inside or the outside of your feet. So your arches are lifting up, even if you got really flat feet. Think about your arches lifting up. And then you're thinking about the four corners of the feet reaching down. You can even float your toes up and see how that feels. And then let yourself release to walk over towards the right a little bit. Maybe you just want to shift your block a little to the right. Maybe you want to walk over towards your right foot. Stay for a breath, however far you've gone. And then we'll come back through center, and we're going to go the other side. So again, you may want to walk a little bit. You may want to shift your block a little bit. You may want to walk closer towards your left foot. Good. One more breath. And then come back to center again. And from there, do what you need to do, right? Set up if you need, stack blocks if you want to. If you feel really good to bring your hands back towards between your feet, you can. You can hold your ankles if you'd rather. You can put your hands up on your back if you want. Clasp your hands and open your shoulders by letting the arms come off the back. I mean, just play a little bit. Let yourself be with your breath again. So really staying focused on the breath. Start to walk our hands on back out so that we can come up to standing, whether we bring our hands to our thighs or our hips, whatever works, and then bringing your feet on together. And then again, move around a little bit, walk around if you need to. And we're going to come into, if you're using your chair, turn the seat of it around to face you, and otherwise have your blocks handy here at the highest height. So we'll put our hands down so we can step our right foot back to come into a lunge here at first. So just find your lunge real simply. Just ease your way into coming into that right foot back. And then from here, we're going to come into a little pyramid pose. So as you start to bring the right foot in to where you can lower the heel down and the legs straighten out here, both of them, lengthen out through the crown of your head. Let yourself find that flat back. And this pose is very deep, obviously, in the backs of the legs, right? But it also is a great spine extender. So if you think about sending your tailbone back just a little bit and zipping up your belly and lengthening out through the crown of your head, it's an amazing pose. So you can stay right here. You can fold forward over your leg if you choose to. Just be mindful, let it feel good wherever you are so that you can keep the legs engaged. Good. So one more breath here. And now we're going to bend the front knee and step forward. Now you might have to readjust. Get your feet right underneath your hips and your hands under your shoulders, whether they're on the blocks or the chair seat. Feet a little closer together. Bend both your knees. And then lift your right foot up off the floor. Now your knees are side by side, but now you're standing just on your left leg. So right here, this is strengthening. If you bend your knee, you can really feel your hip, obviously. And now, on your next inhale, straighten both legs out. Send that right foot back into a warrior three, directly behind you. And now, on your next exhale, come right back where you were. Bend both your knees. Bring your right knee in beside your left. And then again, inhale, stretch it back long again. And then as you exhale, bring it back in again. And then one more time, inhale,
Let yourself come into that warrior three. Now, if any of you want to reach your left hand up off the block, bringing your hand to your heart, or, you know, if your chair's there, it's great. You can reach and hold the back of the chair. If you want to reach the arm forward without any support, that's fine. Or keep your hand down on the block. So be where you can. One more breath. And then let the foot come on back down. Now, you can squat however you want. You can put your elbows above your knees to give you relief. Or you can let yourself squat all the way down, right? If you feel fine in your knees and your hips to come down, sometimes widening the feet out more helps if you're going to come into a squat. Or sometimes just keeping your heels off the floor and letting yourself have your knees forward. So just be mindful. Let it feel good. And we're going to slowly make our way back up from here. Get your feet right underneath you again. We'll come on up to standing. Let's inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Good. And then just release. Shake out a little bit. Good. Walk if you need to move through your feet. We're going to do the other side. So the left foot's going to go back. So very strengthening work here into your lunge at first. Very strengthening for the hips and the back. So finding your lunge first, and let that feel like a relief. Yeah, after we've done all these lunges and everything that we've done so far, now lunge feels pretty easy. We're going to make our way towards pyramid by bringing that left foot up as far as we need to lower the heel to the floor. Foot is, remember, turned out 20 or 30 degrees. And you want this idea of being level in your hips. So sometimes shortening the stance helps, or widening your stance a little bit. That can actually feel a lot better in some people's hips. So you don't have your heels in a line, but instead they're a little bit apart. The feet are that wide way. But now start to work. So whether your hands are up on blocks of the chair, think of your spine. As your thighs are lifting up, now add that sense of reaching back through your tailbone and zipping up your belly. So you got to reach back and zip up. So you have this natural curve in your low back. You're not rounding up and dropping your tailbone down, right? It's huge. It's huge for the backs of the legs. It's huge for the spine alignment. And of course, if you'd like to fold over the leg, go right ahead. If you're like, well, that's the biggest relief ever, you can go ahead and fold over your front leg. So opening up into your pyramid pose. One more breath. Good. And now we're going to step forward and get our feet right underneath us. So you have to probably adjust depending on how you are. And get your hands right under your shoulders, whether they're on the blocks or on the chair. Bend your knees a little bit. Now when you think of lifting your left foot up, if you get it up off the floor there and the knees are side by side and you don't feel like your right foot's in the right place, put the foot back down and get that supporting leg just where you know it feels good. And then left foot's off the floor here, bend both your knees. And then as you inhale, reach back into that long left leg. Toes are facing down. Hips are level and square. Now as you exhale, bring the knee back in. So you have your knees side by side again. To keep flexing that left foot, and inhale when you reach back again into that long leg. Toes face down. And then one more time, exhale, bring that knee in. And then as you inhale, reach back. Now again, if you want to stretch that right arm forward, if you feel like you'd like to put the hand on your heart, if you'd like to put the hand, just up a little bit off the block and test your balance a little, you can. Be where you can. And one more breath there. And then when you've had enough, let yourself come on down. And again, squat however feels good. So if you feel like you want to let yourself, use your blocks, come down, keep your heels up, or if you want to separate your feet, turn your knees out a little bit, or have your elbows above your knees, right? Big relief. Good. And from here, we are so close to the floor, it'll be easy. We're going to come down onto our bellies on the floor. So if you're using your chair, you might want to get it out of the way there. And let yourself come on down onto your belly and make a little pillow with your hands. So you kind of make a pillow with your hands, rest your forehead on your hands. And now just for fun, bend your knees and kind of take them towards the outside edges of your mat. And then let your feet come together to touch. Now that could be the feet really high. Like if you look at me, it could be like up here so you're not, just releasing your hips a little bit. You may decide that your hips feel really good to bring them farther out and let the feet touch, and they might get closer, down towards the ground. That has nothing to do with anything except how you're built in your hips. So you're not trying to make your feet go to the floor. You're just letting the weight of the lower legs help your hips release, right? And you probably feel it in your inner thighs. So one more breath there. And then bring the feet back up so you can bring your knees back under you and let your legs now stretch out long again. And let's release up onto our forearms with our elbows right under our shoulders into a Sphinx pose. And you all know if it's too much, keep your elbows down towards your waist more. Don't go up so high. Or you can have arms overhead if that's better. So really be mindful. Let yourself release here into opening the upper body, but very gently. Belly is gently engaged. Good. So one more breath here. And then bring your hands on together. Clasp your hands, send your pinky out, bend your knees, and lift up into a half forearm plank. Imagine you're trying to pull yourself towards the front of your mat, which gets you right onto that flesh above the knees. You're not on your kneecaps, right? And then engage the belly and let yourself just enjoy here. There's a lot going on. The belly, the back, the hips, there's your core. Try to focus on that instead of imagining that your arms are getting tired or your shoulders. And one more breath there. And then release down and see if you can stretch your arms up towards the corners of your mat, the right and left front corner of your mat there. Lower your head down. And then bend your knees and let your feet circle around a little bit. So just circling one direction, the other. Kind of do a little foot dance back there. And then bring your legs on back down long. And on your next inhale, float anything you can up off the floor. And when your arms are up like this for locust, it's hard. So don't overdo. You might barely clear your nose off the floor, right? See if you can just feel that sense of really reaching into the fingertips and the toes, but keeping the belly engaged. And then we're going to lower down. Good. Come back onto your forearms again. Clasp your hands again. See if you want to pull back up, push back up into that half forearm plank, or maybe you want to put your toes down and come into a full one this time. So that's up to you. Finding where you can be, whether it's your half, your full, or just rest if you need to rest. Good, and then come on back down. Bring your hands right by your chest now. So your elbows are hugging inward. So for a little cobra, you can just barely lift your head off the floor. Feel your elbows hugging in and imagine you're dragging your hands down towards your waist. Or you can push up through the hands. If you feel like you want to come up higher, you can come into longer arms with elbows hugging in. Totally don't do a high cobra. If it feels uncomfortable, don't do it. Good. One more breath. Now we're going to shift back towards pose of a child from here. So if you're up high, it's kind of easy. Otherwise, shift your way back how you can. Letting the big toes come together, knees apart. And how far apart you have your knees, totally up to you. So be mindful. Let your hips release, your low back, come into your breath. Good. And now, come up a little bit. We're going to thread the needle with our left arm. So sending your left hand through, and you can turn your palm up on that left hand. You might want to rest the left side of your head on the floor, or you might want to put your right hand under your head, or you might decide to stretch your right arm forward like you're doing down dog with that right arm. So releasing in your shoulder where you can find, and don't push it. If you need to be up off of your heels, you can still do this stretch with your bottom up in the air higher, right? So that you're not so deeply bending your knees. Good. And then we'll bring the right hand back if it was up so we can switch. And we're going to thread the needle with the right arm coming through. And again, if you don't want to come down onto your head, don't. If it feels good to use your hand for a pillow, you can. Or you can stretch your arm overhead. Breathe into your low back. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to slowly come on back up. Use your left hand to help you. We're going to come up on around to sitting. So take your time and come on around. If you know that sitting on a blanket is better for you, grab yourself a blanket to sit on. We're going to let ourselves bring our soles of the feet together for just a second. Just let yourself, and remember the soles of the feet can be together way out in front of you. You can bring them closer in. That depends on you. But just sit up for a second. Let yourself feel evened out. So evened out through your hips, lengthening up through the crown of your head. Yeah, and if you need support underneath your knees, you can put your blocks under your knees. But we're just going to let this be a pose where we can focus on our breath for just a little bit, focusing on those 3-part breaths. Good. Now that everything's kind of settled down, try this. See if you can stretch your left leg long if you want. You can keep it bent if that's better. But take your right leg in your hands here. So hold on like to the outside of your knee and maybe to your foot, or maybe in front of your leg. It really depends on you. And see if you can just rock your leg back and forth. But let your arms do the work, right? So you're trying to really let go in your hip. You're trying really just to let, and the legs are heavy, right? But if you let go, it would just fall because really it's your arms that are doing it. Good. So you can go pull it closer up if it feels good to you. You can really hug that leg in towards you. Just try not to do this, and sink into that rounded back. Good. Now from there, just take your time and let yourself just use your right hand to draw the knee back a little bit. So you're just twisting a little bit towards that leg. Just let it feel good. Good. And then release that leg back down long, and we're just going to switch. So we'll bring the left lower leg in, and again, you can have it really low here and just kind of move a little bit, letting it feel really good there. Give yourself time to focus on feeling that weight so that if you were to drop it, it would fall, right? And so it is actually a lot of work in your arms and your shoulders. So you can draw it in more if you're able to, but just be easy and try to relax there in the hip. Good. And then when you get ready to think about kind of using your hand to draw the knee back, you can let your body turn a little bit too as you turn towards that leg. Just let the knee come back a little bit. Good. And then come on back in the center. Stretch that leg on out long. Let your feet circle around a little bit. We're going to come back into Baddha Konasana. So bringing the soles of the feet back in together. And you can decide here if you want to balance a little bit or not. You don't have to. You can sit with your feet on the floor, or you can lift your feet up and hold on, either to your ankles, or you can even wrap your hands around your feet if you have that sense where your hips let you do that. That really is all about hips. And you don't have to lift the feet up at all. What happens is your belly engages when you lift them up. And I know some of you like to play with the feet up. You can let your one leg come on out. You can keep the knee bent. Or you can come into a straighter leg if you want to. Don't roll backwards and bang your head. And then you can do the other side if you want. So actually it's really hard to do one leg at a time, harder than doing both, because obviously feel what your belly does if you try to do one leg like that. Okay, so if you had enough, you don't have to try for both, but you can. You can try for both. Let yourself try if you can to release up into both legs long, or keep them bent, like kind of like a bear. That feels like a bear pose to me right there. So play one more breath. Using the core, good. We're going to bring our feet on back down. Let your knees come on up, stretch your legs on out in front of you, and go on and come into a little bit of a forward bend. Doesn't have to be a lot. If you're a natural forward bender and it feels very good to fold forward over your legs, once you've come forward from your low back, if you're pretty forward and it just is like heaven to let your head hang, go for it, right? But you know, if you're really tight in your low back and you know that these forward bends just aren't that great for you to do that, you can keep your head more in line with your spine. Good. One more breath. And let yourself slowly come on back up out of that. And we're going to come down onto our backs on the floor. Now, if you like to roll down, you can. You know, if you like to use your belly a little bit, round your spine, curl your tailbone up, and imagine you're lowering one vertebrae at a time towards the floor, you can. That's just not good for everybody's back. If it feels good to you, you can. Once you're down there, bring your right knee into your chest and extend your left leg down long on the floor. Now both feet are flexing. You can feel your left heel on the floor. Press your right leg into your hands a little bit so that it feels really good. Good. And now switch to hold behind your right thigh. And allow your thigh to slide over to the right a little bit, like you're bringing your knee, your right knee, towards your right shoulder. And put your foot up like you're putting a footprint on the ceiling. Now, if you hadn't noticed, this is a huge stretch for the front of your left thigh. So you probably are thinking we're stretching the leg up in the air, right? But feel that left thigh that's released down to the floor, that left leg that is released down to the floor, the hips on the floor. Feel that openness. Now, if you want more, you can reach up and hold on to your calf or your ankle with your hands, or you can hold your foot. You know, your right hand can hold the pinky toe side of the foot, and your left hand can hold the big toe side of the foot. But this is a really big hip opener in the left hip flexor, whether you're reaching up high to hold on or not. Good. One more breath. And then go ahead, bring the right foot back down. We're going to bring the left knee in towards the chest and stretch the right leg down long this time. So at first, flex through both feet, feel the right heel on the floor, and wherever you're holding that left leg, press the leg into your hands a little bit. Let yourself just feel the back come into its natural alignment. And then switch to hold behind your left thigh, okay, and slide the thigh to the left. And imagine you're kind of pulling your knee down towards the ground. So you can use your hands to kind of help do that. Now you're open in the front of that right hip. Keep the foot flexed there. And then send your left foot up like you're putting a footprint on the ceiling. Again, you don't have to reach up and hold it anywhere. I mean, sometimes you can kind of hook your left arm around the thigh right behind your knee and down onto your thigh that way. I kind of like to do that, but if you want to reach up and hold on to your leg somewhere up there or your foot, take your time, focus on the openness through the front of the right hip, and you might discover that it feels quite differently on either side, that front of your hips, right? One of them might have felt like nothing was happening, and one of them might feel the opposite. Good. One more breath. And then bend the knee again, bring it back in. Let's bring both knees into the chest. Let the knees separate a little bit and let the feet come a little more towards each other. Just to release. Hug them down towards you so your back is releasing to the floor. And then stretch your legs on up in the air and start to do a little cross-country ski movement with your legs back and forth. You can even do an old-fashioned bicycle if you want, right? I mean, sometimes doing a bicycle here on your back feels really good. And you can let the legs come lower to do all that stuff. If you want to feel your abs working a little bit, you can let your cross-country ski come lower, or you can do a bicycle to where your feet, instead of being up directly towards the ceiling, are kind of heading down a little bit. Play. Just play. Good. And then release to bring the feet back to the floor. Separate your feet wider on your mat. And let your knees come to one side. Doesn't matter which one. Stay for a breath if you can, unless it's really uncomfortable for you. And then when you switch, you just bring them up and exhale your way to the other side. So in these little twists, you take your time. If you feel like you want to let yourself keep going side to side, do, or perhaps your body is really kind of wanting to do another deeper form of a twist. So if that's the case, by all means do. Or something else entirely. I mean, you may be craving a total different movement in your body. It doesn't have to be a yoga pose, remember? Take your time so that I'm going to start to get some whites, and then I'll eventually start to move around with bolsters or blankets, whatever anybody feels like sounds really good for support. Don't rush. Moving through a pose or a movement, do it. Yeah. So let me know. I'm going to grab bolsters and start to walk around. If I miss you, wave at me. You want a little one? Okay. Time. If you're at home, remember you want to be comfortable. So if grabbing blankets, if you need support under your head, if you need support under your knees. So wave at me if I missed anybody here. Let yourself just start to release down into the ground, accepting your breaths. So it's that same sense of focusing on your breath without controlling it. So no judgment, just allow yourself to follow your breaths in and out with your focus, and keep coming back to that focus of watching the breath. Just giving your body the gift of having these few minutes. Getting out of your own way, really. Letting those quiet spaces allow you to benefit from all you just did. Just by letting yourself completely and fully relax. slowly get a little bit deeper and longer. Feeling the actual physical movement as you breathe in and out. Bringing yourself back to feeling physical there, supported by the floor. Letting those deeper breaths start to bring energy back gradually to you, so that when you get ready to move, it feels pretty good to let your fingers and your toes lead you into moving, your hands, your feet when you're ready. And just take your time, let your body move however feels comfortable, whether you need to stretch or roll to your right or your left side. Bring your knees in to let your back release. And of course, when you start to feel ready to head up, if you haven't already, really be mindful. Take your time. Let your eyes stay closed if you can. Or close them again once you get up to sitting, and be comfortable in your hips. If you need to grab a blanket, do. If you need to stretch your legs out or sit in any other way, just be easy. So it's easy to lengthen up. Easy to feel the top of the head reaching up towards the ceiling, feeling your sitting bones reaching down. And on your next exhale, bring your hands gently to meet there in front of your heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.
Namaste.